Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host, Thomas Siri from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this is the Combat Series episode number 18 for you guys today. Of course, this episode is going to be coming out on all four of our platforms, our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the first segment of the Combat Series, episode 18 for you guys today. Is crossover boxing bad for the sport of boxing? So I come to the realization, yes, crossover boxing is a bad look for the sport of boxing, and I'm going to explain why. There's nothing wrong with celebrities / YouTubers like KSI, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. You can add Salt Poppy to the mix, Tommy Fury to the mix as well. There's nothing wrong with these respective guys going out there and trying something different in their respective lives and trying out a new sport, which that sport is the sport of boxing. But it's starting to become a bad look for the sport of boxing when you have these guys headlining pay-per-views and being in the mix in terms of big-time events, so-called big-time events in the sport of boxing. Their viewers bring, I will give them credit, their viewers bring attention to the sport of boxing, yes. But what I have a problem with is Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury's pay-per-view card. Their pay-per-view had more pay-per-view buys than the biggest fight in the sport of boxing that we saw since Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao fought back in 2015. And that was the fight that we saw between Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. That fight that Tommy Fury and Jake Paul had more viewers than the biggest fight that we've seen since Floyd and Manny back in 2015. That's insane to me. When you have Jake Paul on the cover of Sports Illustrated over guys that are pound for pound the best boxers in the sport today, that's a problem to me. And then when you have a guy like KSI fighting twice on a pay-per-view card, fighting nobodies, really getting more wins to his boxing career, that makes me so angry as a boxing fan. And having tag team boxing fights, what is this? The Hardy Boys versus Edge and Christian? What is this? D-Generation X versus the Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction? I can't get into that. And when you continue to have events like this, when you continue to do things like this, it's a bad look for the sport of boxing. And when you think about it, these guys have no boxing experience. They just jumped into the sport of boxing and just kept rolling with it. Now, there is one guy, if you guys follow the podcast, I always stick up for, I always cover when he fights, and that's Jake Paul. Jake Paul gets my credit. Jake Paul gets respect because he's the only one trying to take this boxing career serious. At least he got into a real fight with Tommy Fury, 8-round boxing fight with Tommy Fury. KSI and Tommy Fury's fight this weekend is an exhibition fight. Why is that when KSI has fought several boxing fights? Is it because he doesn't want that loss to his record? Any other real boxer would go head-to-head with Tommy Fury and not have it as an exhibition when this man has already had 2 pay-per-view fights on back-to-back nights. Both of those wins counted in his boxing career. So why can't a fight with Tommy Fury count as well? But back to Jake Paul. He is trying to take his boxing career to the next level. And he does have a great boxing team. He is learning from guys like Sugar Ray Mosley. He's trying to continue his boxing career, and at least he has dreams and aspirations to one day be a world champion in the sport of boxing. Will it happen? I don't think so. But Logan Paul has no reason being in a boxing ring. The man is under a WWE contract. Why is he out there? He's in WWE to sports entertain. You can't sports entertain with with gloves on your hands and trying to entertain millions around the world. You can't play boxing. And Logan Paul is a victim of that as well. I think he has no reason of being a part of this as well. KSI has no reason being in the ring as well. I see the workout videos that KSI puts in. I get it, but you cannot play boxing. You cannot. And one day these guys, well, I wouldn't say one day, but if these guys ever get into a boxing ring with a boxer that has championship caliber experience, they would never step foot in a boxing ring ever again. Mark my words. But what they should do for these crossover boxers, the guys like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, Tommy Fury, Salty Poppy, anybody that you want to name and that you could think of that is a social media influencer, a YouTuber, a celebrity, anybody of that nature. What they should do is distance themselves from the sport of boxing. You can have your own boxing organization to distance themselves from actual pro boxers, to stop taking away their rightful attention that they earn kicking asses and taking names, winning countless world championships in the sport of boxing. They can have their own weight divisions, their own titles, and their own power rankings to settle the noise, so we'd know the difference between celebrity boxers and pro boxers, because this should be something and an organization that takes away from the sport of boxing, and they have their own organization, because it's a bad outlook of what crossover boxing is, and bringing into the sport of boxing is a bad look for the sport of boxing. Let's be honest, none of those guys that I just mentioned, of a Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI, Salty Poppy, they're never going to be a world champion in the sport of boxing. They're in there to get their influencers to watch them, get some money, having big time events. I respect the grind, but those guys are there to entertain. They're never there to win a world title, and it'll just never happen for those respective guys. So they need to start their own organization to distance themselves from the sport of boxing. So this is it's not a clown show that the sport of boxing has to put up with when you have these type of tag team pay-per-view events or main events that these guys have no boxing experience. I think that's just best for the sport of boxing. But those are my thoughts on crossover boxing being a bad thing for the sport of boxing.